have a pleasure to introduce David White, and today David will be talking about how to gain links for spammy industries without doing it in a spammy way.
Cool, yeah, so thanks for joining me, guys. I wanted to sort of touch base on an issue that sort of been around for quite some time for anyone working in digital PR or certainly in SEO, and that's what we do with hard-to-market companies. So by that we mean companies that you would deem to be a taboo, so your payday loans, your gambling, things like that. So there is a stigma around these companies about how to build links. Now, we know that these companies are doing it, we know that these clients are doing it, but let's be honest, they're probably still doing it how most people were doing it back pre-2012, pre-Penguin. So my first point is to say it is difficult to get links back to your site. There is absolutely no way to deny that. It's definitely a little bit more difficult if you are a hard-to-market company. But don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up if you've got a client within sort of the payday loan industry or gambling, because links are getting harder to get in all industries. Asking somebody to link to your content or link to your site is essentially asking them to pass traffic to you for free. So it is difficult, but there are a few ways that we can get around it. So the talks that Shannon and Lexi have just done were fantastic examples for the companies that may be a bit more well-known in terms of the public eye or sort of a bit more public friendly. But when I talk about hard-to-market companies, it still seems that you guys are paying for links, and it doesn't need to happen. So that leads me on to my second point. Just stop the spam. Please stop the spam. It's not a long-term solution. If you are deemed as a taboo, I understand why you would do it, because a lot of journalists, a lot of publications will naturally not want to link to you because they don't want to pass their readers to you because you're seen as a bit of an edgy company or a taboo industry. But there is no need to spam it. It's not going to work in the long term, and there is ways that you can legitimately build links if you are a hard-to-market client. So these are a couple of links. I've sort of deleted out the clients and the people who built these. These are some links that I found by scouring the web literally in the past 2 weeks. So 12 classic sources and how to make them. That was by a payday loan company. I'm kind of speechless because it's nothing to do with them as a brand. Clearly, it's just there to get links. Even if somebody did find it, I doubt they'd engage with it. And this was actually uploaded to a lot of paid for infographic sites. A couple more that you can see there: guest post, financial solutions, should I say, for a stay-at-home freelancer mum with the anchor text borrow money going through to a payday loan company, and possibly my all-time favourite from a mum site. A article on the right there talking about fashion trends, and right in the middle, just randomly, a link to bingo, and that goes through to the bingo join us page. This is still happening, and it literally baffles me. I don't understand why people are doing it, because you will see a short-term gain, I have no doubt, in terms of organic results. But even if a reader does find these links for whatever reason, they're not going to engage with you as a brand. They're not going to remember you, and ultimately, Google's going to catch you out at some point. So this is again, I've taken the clients out, but this is research metrics, and this is a churn and burn graph, as what's known internally at Bandit 3. So this green line here was where people, a hard-to-market client was sort of buying links, paying for links, and yes, fundamentally it was working, but then Google caught up with them, and then that blue line that you see in the middle was sort of a redirect. Again, yes, it worked, and then it dropped off again. The main point that I want you to take from this slide is, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, if you are buying links, if you are seeing an improvement from them links in your organic visibility, believe me, it isn't going to last. It will catch up with you either this week, next month, next year, and it's just not a long-term business solution. So if you are a hard-to-market company, please build legitimate links, white hat links, the links that Lexi and Shannon were just talking about. And there's a few ways that I sort of want to talk to you, and a few hints and tips I want to give you in order to do that. So the first one is stay relevant, but not promotional. So that classic sources links that I just talked about was not relevant to them as a brand. So even if somebody had found that link, even if someone had, for whatever reason, clicked on that link on that website, they wouldn't have engaged with you as a brand, and they would have been completely pointless because they have no reason to talk about what they were talking about. But then again, on the other side of that, we can't be promotional, because we can't go out there and push our core products. And if we were a payday loan company, for example, and we were pushing our core products, then you are instantly always going to be shot down by the press, because realistically, nobody wants to talk about payday loans, certainly not in a positive light. There is not a journalist I've met in the 5 years of working in the industry who would naturally link through to a payday loan company, into a product page or a promotional page, because they obviously don't want their readers, they don't want to be seen to be encouraging their readers to sort of turn to that form of finance. And so we can't be promotional, and we have to stay relevant as a brand. Understand that creativity will always gain links. I don't care who you are as a company. I don't care what you do as a company. If you have a campaign that is creative, that is out of the box, that kind of shocks and surprises and stops people, you're going to gain links. Fundamentally, there's an adult site within the UK called Pornhub, and they are incredibly hard to market because they're deemed as a taboo fundamentally throughout the UK, and they do gain links, and they gain the kind of links that other clients who are a bit more friendly and upbeat would dream of. And the reason they do it is because they're creative. They embrace who they are as a brand, and they create campaigns which stop people, make people laugh, play on an emotion, and they gain links. I work with a paid doorstep loan company, and I've worked with them for the past 3 years. And when I started working with them, it was difficult to sort of change that internal perception of the client to say, let us get on with this. We're going to go to press, and we're not going to get bad coverage or negative press, should I say. And every time I run a campaign for them, we now gain the links that other clients will dream of because we are creative. So just as long as you're being creative, as long as you're being relevant and not promotional, you're going to gain links. It doesn't matter who you are as a client. And build relationships and trust. This is absolutely key if you are a hard to market client. Building relationships with the media, building relationships with press is an absolute must if you want to make sure that you are getting talked about in a positive light and ultimately gaining links back to your site. Now, the one key thing I would say about this is that every time I speak to a client who is deemed as a taboo, they're like, I want to get a positive press on the Telegraph, or I want to get it on the BBC. You need to be realistic. You need to be absolutely realistic here. Building relationships and trust takes time. If you are deemed as a taboo, start with the trade press, start with these smaller niche titles, build relationships with them, work with them on campaigns. And the more you do that, the more you sort of expand your circle of contacts, the more mid-tier publications will see that and maybe will be a bit more open to talk to you. And then after that, obviously the national press. It will take time, it will be difficult, but fundamentally building relationships and trust is a key thing for any brand, and certainly if you're hard to market. Product pages, I can't stress enough how many people have come to me and asked me to build links directly to their product pages, and I can't tell you enough times how many times I've told them no. Not in nice polite words, by the way. It just can't happen. No one ever landed on a product page and was absolutely wowed and yes, fantastic. And if you are asking a journalist to link through to a product page, then why would they? Because that's marketing. So if you're asking them to give up their traffic to go through to a page directly where users will convert, then that's marketing in its pure form. And therefore, why shouldn't money pass hands? And we're talking about digital PR and SEO. We can't exchange money with journalists. So don't do product pages. If you want to build natural links, build it to content, to pages that you've created to engage an audience rather than to sell a product. It will never work. So when we're talking about what kind of pages to build and what kind of content to create, there are 3 segments that I want you to focus on. So what conversations are customers having? Look who your customers are. What kind of publications are they engaging with? What kind of influencers are they following? What kind of TV shows are they watching? I want to know everything about these guys. I want to know what they're talking about, what they're doing, where they're going online, and that will gain a lot of insight into creating a campaign. Then take that and look for the conversation online. So if a lot of people within your sort of target audience are talking about certain subjects, then look for that subject online and look at what journalists are talking about that. Look at what publications are talking about that. And the third step is how you can add value to that conversation as a business. So do you have a right to be sort of within that conversation? And if so, all them 3 sort of points should mix, and that there is your idea. That there is your campaign that you should move forward to press with. But again, if you are new to sort of legitimate, as the title says, link building for a hard to market company, there has to be a level of expectation set. if you do do payday loans, and I'm going to use that as an example throughout, if you're new to the industry or if you're new to sort of link acquisition, the Telegraph probably going to be a little bit skeptical sort of linking to you, and that's just the way it is. So don't forget about these niche sites. So going back to that point we just talked about, the 3 segments. If travel, for whatever reason, a travel campaign was sort of the focus of your link acquisition from the 3 segments that you've taken, then look at little niche sites. You don't have to go straight to the Telegraph Travel. Look at local travel agents. Look at their websites. These are all legitimate websites with a legitimate following. Look at sort of the trade press. Build your way up slowly. In most of the campaigns and for most of the clients, I would always say top down. If you can get on the BBC, if you can get on Mashable, then loads of people are going to see you, and that will help the selling of your campaign. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. And if you are a hard to market company or deemed as a taboo, you're going to waste time and resource aiming for them publications straight away. So start small. Build up this list of contacts. And the other good thing about niche sites is the diversity of domains. You have a reason. If you follow the 3 points that I mentioned earlier and create a campaign, then you have a reason to be talking about that, and therefore you have a reason to be talked on these sites. And these sites would never normally talk about you or think to talk about you. And in terms of SEO, that's only a good thing. Focusing on journalist space and not competition is a key trick as well. So if you are within the payday loan sector, and you need to watch what your competitors are doing clearly from a link acquisition point of view. You need to make sure you understand where they're going. Is there anywhere we can be going, which they are? But fundamentally, the chances are, if you are in a hard to market industry, then they're probably doing negative link building anyway, a bit spammy link building. So you probably don't want to follow their footsteps. So I work with Provident Financial, who are a doorstep loan company. And they talk a lot about, we do a lot of campaigns around about personal finance. So when I look at personal finance, I don't look at their competitors and see where their competitors are going. I look at the journalist space instead of the competition. So what journalists are talking about personal finance, and what other brands who aren't a competition to me are sort of the authority in personal finance. So comparison sites, for example, and then look at where them sites are getting links, look at where them sites are building relationships with journalists, and follow their steps, because it's the conversation we're targeting here, not trying to follow up the steps of our competition. And there's a couple of key tools that we can use to do that. So Ahrefs, if you can see a fantastic campaign done by a company around the same conversation that you want to target, then throw the URL into Ahrefs and see sort of the results, see what journalists covered it, see what publications covered it, and go out there and don't be scared. Have a backbone. Be out there and speak to these people. Try to build a relationship. Tweet these people. Email them. Phone. Whatever it takes. Moz Open Site Explorer is another key one. And again, put the URL in there and see what it's saying. See about the social shares. See who's talked about this, and put them on your radar for your campaign. And SEMrush does exactly the same as the other two. Sometimes they bring back different results, which is why I put all 3 of them in. But another key thing that SEMrush does, and I can share afterwards via Twitter, is link segmentation. So you can take the desired campaigns that you want to be like, even if they're not competitive to you as a brand, put it within SEMrush and see where they gain links as a site and where you haven't. So if there are, if we've all been linked to 3 times from the BBC, then it would say, but if they've been linked to by 5 different travel sites that you've never been linked to as a brand, then them 5 travel sites should be on your radar to contact. So look for the journalist conversations as well as your competition. So another thing that we have to be sort of realistic with, if you are a hard to market company, is that a lot of publications have policies. A lot of journalists have policies as well. Not to link to you, just not to even consider you as a sort of linkable source. So what I've done is I've taken some link trends from beginning of 2017, and this is links that I've actively built for hard to market clients. And as you can see, regional papers, they are more likely to link to you as a brand. So if you can, put them on your radar, because that's where the links are going to come from. National papers, again, they do link to you. Fundamentally, they do. And I have an example later on in the slides to show you that. Key point is, obviously, with this, we've been working with these brands for a long time. So some of the national papers have come because we've built up the relationship over time. But social media, student, travel, lifestyle, these kind of sites are willing and have policies that allow you to be linked to as a hard to market brand. So if link acquisition is sort of the key outcome, which I presume if you're watching this it will be, then these kind of niche sites and these kind of category of sites, if you will, should be definitely on your radar. And I'm more than happy to share this graph at the end as well and answer any questions on it. Everything we've just talked about, though, has been campaign-based, and campaign-based should be the way you should go as a hard-to-market client, because that's where you're going to gain links. However, being reactive is a quick win as well. So, again, I don't care who you are as a brand. There is always a newsjacking opportunity out there for you. I appreciate that if you work within sort of the financial industry or whatever, there might be some internal hurdles to get over with legal and compliance. But there is always newsjacking available to you. Doesn't matter which brand you are. You just need to identify experts. You need to identify who they are in your business and make sure that they become the face of your business. Build an offer page. So there's a reason that if they're going out there and giving comments, if they're going out there and giving interviews, that their journalist is linking back to them. Build a calendar of events. What events can you as a brand, legitimately talk about? Understandably, a lot of it will be, reactive. Some things we might not be able to plan. So if something happens this morning, then we might have to react. But there is a lot of events that we know for a fact using ONS sort of calendars and economic calendars that we can be talking about. And be proactive and contact the journalists ahead of them events. It's fantastic for building them relationships that I keep talking through in the past few slides. And it ensures that when they do talk about the topics that you're jumping on, that they will include you as a source and hopefully link to you as a brand. And monitor events to target from a reactive perspective, to continuously monitor, make sure you're on top of it. And if there is something that's going to happen this morning, you can react. Now, again, if you are hard to market, you might be thinking, well, the Telegraph don't want to talk to me. The FT don't want to hear what I've got to say. Again, that's fine. That's going to be something you're going to struggle with until you build them relationships. But I can 100% guarantee you that there are interview opportunities with trade press, that there are smaller sites out there that are looking to find out what you know. And again, you should be targeting them. A quick sort of event calendar that can help you, and I can share a link afterwards, is one that we've created on the Branded Free site. So this calendar allows you to see right through the year, to see sort of national days and things that are happening on them days, which you might be able to comment on as a brand. So keep your eye on this and also do your own research, because this will help you sort of plan as much as possible them sort of newsjacking opportunities. This is Spreadex, who we work with. Now, Spreadex are a spread betting and sports spread betting company. Deemed as a taboo to a slight level, not as hard to market as a payday loan industry, I appreciate, but we ran a newsjacking strategy for them, talking about their sports spread betting and talking about just general shares and sort of impacts to the economy within the UK in general. And we were getting on a weekly basis these kind of sites, The Independent, The Express, the BBC, Metro. Two main things we've taken from this by being reactive. Number one, low resource. It wasn't much. And so we didn't have to build something, we didn't have to dev something to get it on site. We had these analysts ready and waiting and wanting to talk to. And we were building relationships. We were building relationships with the Independent, so much so that they're coming to us now and saying, can you give me a comment? So we're not even doing the outreach, which is fantastic. We obviously will spend that outreach time expanding sort of the amount of sites we can contact, but we are building relationships with individual journalists who look just to us for their news stories. And again, I've talked briefly about it, but the diversity of domains is fantastic. So Adweek, Sky News, food manufacturing, Beer Today. Beer Today might not be a well-known site in terms of the majority of people watching this, but it's a fantastic site. It's a great site with a real readership. Doesn't accept paid posts, has real editors, real readers. And with Spreadex, we were going out, they were coming to us saying, look, Heineken share prices have dropped because of X, Y, and Z. Can you give us a little bit of insight? And yeah, absolutely we can. We'd go to them, we'd give them the comment, they'd link back to us as a site. And in terms of diversity of domains, it was fantastic. So we were getting new domains every single month, every week, but we were still managing to get the top tier every single time as well. So newsjacking is an unbelievably powerful PR tool, and it can be done for every single client. I fail to accept anyone who says that they cannot be part of reactive. There is a site out there, there is a journalist out there who wants to talk to you. It is our job to build the relationships over time and to get you in front of them. Identify the areas of expertise it makes sense for you to talk about. That's what it all sort of boils down to, really, for the reactive quick wins. We need to understand what it is we can talk about, how that will impact our customers, and find out who's talking about that online, and we build relationships with them. So an example campaign that I wanted to run you through, because it's okay me sitting here saying, hard to market client, payday loan industry, adult industry, you don't have to pay for links. It's all right me saying that, but the proof is in the pudding. And this is, I know I mentioned Provident Personal Credit earlier. So Provident are a doorstep loan company, and I've worked with them now for the past 3 years. And when we started with them, yes, it was difficult. Nobody wanted to talk about them. They are 100% deemed as a taboo, and there was a lot of uncertainty internally in Provident about getting positive press because they didn't think it was possible. Now, we've worked with them over time. We've done different campaigns by analysing what it is that their audience are talking about, what kind of journalist trends are happening online that we can become part of, and how we can use what that tag I was just talking about, and how we can become part of that conversation, which still actually ties into us as a brand. So we've worked with them over the past 3 years. So yes, the relationship with press has got a lot better. But this is one that I did last month. I wanted to show you a campaign that I've done recently. And this is called Unbroken Britain. So being a doorstep loan company, these guys are out in the community every day. They're out in different communities. And I wanted to create a campaign that sort of highlighted that sense of community spirit. So we went out to different communities across UK and found out how welcoming the area was, how friendly the area was, how safe the area was. And we created a report that we actually run on a biannual basis, so every 6 months. So every time we release that report, we have data to compare to the previous time. And we ran that for the 3rd time last month, and 106 links in coverage for a doorstep loan company. And these links aren't, jobblogs.co.uk or whatever. These are the Lad Bible, the Telegraph, AOL, the BBC. Again, these are the kind of sites that most companies, even if the nicest company in the world, somebody who sold puppies, they would dream to be on. Yet someone who's deemed as to do is getting positive press, followed links off these sites. And they just proved how possible it is. But you have to take into consideration a few things. You don't need to spam and stop building to product pages. That will never work. If you want to get to the level that last campaign was at, that will never work. In order to run the campaigns, find the conversations your target audience are having and build them around that. Make sure that they tie into you as a brand, but make sure that there is a conversation happening. Build relationships, start small, build your way up. These niche sites, regional sites, they're all fantastic, they're all legitimate sites. These are the ones that are going to be the sort of lowest hanging fruit, if you will. So work with these and then work your way up to the national media. And approach campaigns with caution, but do never be scared to have a voice. I often, when speaking to hard to market clients, they're worried. They're worried about going out there. They're worried about going out to press and putting their sort of heads on the line. And you do need to approach it with caution because, a lot of the conversations around you as a brand may be negative, but never be scared. Never be scared to have a voice. If you focus on the conversations that your target audience are having and you focus on conversations that are happening online and there is a reason for you as a brand to be talking about them, never be scared. Go out there, build a campaign, build the relationships, and I can guarantee you'll stop paying for links and you'll be featured on Fly Bible, BBC, etc. And you'll be reaping the rewards from an SEO benefit.